going. And
What's tomorrow? I don't know. What's tomorrow?
okay.
Well, you know,
Oh, you're
I don't
just
know if you
talking
had more
about
than one
thoughts.
thought or two, or
Oh,
I don't want
yes.
to use them all up at one time.
Well,
And council, with us being back in open session, we are broadcasting and everything. So
Okay.
I don't have one thought a week.
So we have public that are coming.
we are broadcasting live. So, you know. I'm just saying, don't say anything you don't want on YouTube.
Hey, where's Pretzel?
Pretzel's home with Sue.
All right.
Doing fine.
love your pictures of the video.
My roller skating.
Roller skating.
Sure.
So they skate fun.
Well, I know you will.
I was in the founder state parade last week. And I just go around the park.
Still finding me every
If I
day.
don't get one, I'm gonna come.
Some days it's gentler than others.
I can carry 5 people. One person in the back. We just jump in here on the journey. So it's okay.
To have everyone in, you know, so anyone else on?
I did.
Go ahead and get started. We did convene the meeting a little earlier, but we entered into a closed meeting. So welcome to the public who have now joined us. Appreciate you being with us. And I think we are also broadcasting on YouTube, so we have hopefully other citizens with us. We'll begin our open meeting tonight. We have Councilman Swanson, who's going to give us a thought and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we come up on the celebration of the independence of our country, been thinking a lot about the wonders of our country and our Constitution and our political system. And feeling incredible gratitude for the men who were willing to lock themselves basically into a stinky, smelly room for weeks to hammer out the wonderful Constitution that we have. And to give us a form of government that, while messy, is still the best in the world. And that allows all of us to participate as just regular citizens and lay people. It's, I'd like to be able to shake their hands and say, thank you, you know, agree or disagree with particular positions that individuals took in that congressional meeting as the Constitution was formulated and hammered down, but came up with a pretty good thing, pretty grand thing, and I'm grateful. And I'm grateful for all of you that participate, that choose to come and be a part of the process that they made for us. So that's my thought. You'll join me now with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Swanson. My son gave a talk the other day, and he was kind of talking about the history. And I can't remember who it was that suggested that the turkey, the bald eagle, be the bird of the nation. But he said he's glad it wasn't a turkey; it would have been uneasy at Thanksgiving. So, it's good. At this point in time, I call for any potential conflicts of interest from the council regarding anything on the agenda this evening. Seeing none, then we'll enter into our active agenda and we'll now seek public comments. Those of you who are here with us that would like to participate, if you would come to the podium, state your name, and if you're a resident of North Ogden. John, this evening, are we taking public comments
It is
on
working.
Zoom?
So we do have 3 people on, members of the public on Zoom.
All right, John will watch for that. At this point in time, we'll go to public comments for anyone who would like to speak this evening. If you would limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, councilmen and women. My name is Dan Pyle. I'm a resident of North Ogden. I'm here tonight to see if I could ask your help with something that I have been trying to find a resolution since we built our home. There's a blow-off valve that was installed outside of our house that is installed pretty high. It's 18 inches off the ground. I brought a couple of pictures. I looked up the code for the city. It says that the fire hydrants and blow-off valves should be a minimum of 2 inches off grade and no more than 6 inches. Am I able to turn over my pictures? I had called and spoke with somebody at the Public Works, and I was told that there was a large rock. Grayland Bartlett is a mutual friend of ours. There's definitely, we bought a rocky lot. It definitely put us over our budget as far as excavation when we had to run a hammer hoe. So I do appreciate that. It's not an easy fix. So really, I'm open for anything. I think the biggest or best would be to relocate the blow-off valve to another location, or just lower it down to grade so we can kind of landscape around it. So that's my plea. And again, anything you can do, I would appreciate. Thank you.
John, do we have any comments from Zoom at this point?
Not currently.
Any other comments from the public who are here with us this evening? All right, we will enter into item number 4 on our agenda. This is a discussion or actions to consider an ordinance to establish boundaries for fireworks and prohibit open burning in certain areas of the city. We have with us tonight John Call, who is our city manager and an attorney. John?
Thank you, Mayor. So council, this is a continuation of the ordinance that was discussed last time, which was ordinance 2021-19. What we have before you is a new ordinance that we would propose to amend that original ordinance to add some additional language related to the usage of fireworks, as well as identify some more of the reasons why fireworks are a risk this season with the drought and the other kind of extenuating circumstances that we haven't seen in the recent past. As we've talked about this, the original fireworks map that the council has adopted and approved year after year. In fact, it is approved in perpetuity at this point. It's different. There we go. This is the official Northview map, and it actually, you see that the border right here of North Ogden, this is all in the Pleasantview area. That's their fire ban. This is the city's historic fire ban for North Ogden City. And what we're talking about is the appropriate measures or recommendations that the council has for addressing the fireworks concerns this year. Last time we were here, just a week ago, the council passed an ordinance that probably did not have the level of detail and specificity that we really needed to properly convey to our residents the feelings of the council, as well as identify the reasons behind the ordinance ordinance as it was passed. So we've added a few things, talking about, for example, the drought. The reason that the city's enacting this ordinance, that, we have some inherent responsibilities to protect property and life. And then identify that because of the uniqueness with the irrigation restrictions, that fireworks are more problematic than usual because I know that several of your houses look like mine, where we've got a crisp golden carpet in our front yard. And so this is in the whereases. The provisions that are new this week as compared to last week is we've added some definitions that talk about, the state mentions these two things, which is a hazardous environmental condition and an existing condition, or an existing hazard, neither of which are defined. So we've added some definitions from the city perspective where if the state doesn't give specificity, we're allowed to give the specificity. So we've added some language here talking about the existing, or the hazardous environmental condition is an unusual occurrence caused by naturally occurring or other activities which pose a substantial risk to life and property. And then an existing hazard is a current physical or environmental feature which exists and which has not occurred historically on a regular basis. The purpose of that is that the original map that we've just viewed includes a historical hazard where it's been often enough and prevalent enough on this map, if I can find my mouse, that these areas of the cities are so close to areas where everything goes dry that there was a risk. That would be the existing or the historical, but this year, essentially the conversation is surrounds the idea that there are new existing hazards in the city that haven't occurred more often than not, or frequently in the past 5 years. So that's why we did a definition. There's some renumbering that's occurred because of that. And so we'll need to, in fact, one thing we'll do, council, while we're doing this is make sure we've got all our ordinance stuff correct. So I'm just renumbering these to make sure that we're not missing something. The discharge of fireworks in open fire pits is the same as what you saw last year, with the addition of some of these things related to historical hazardous conditions. Talks about brush cover, dry grass areas and things, really kind of focuses on the language in the state code from 15A5201. Ryan's nodding his head like I guessed correctly on that statute, so
I think so.
that's good. Okay. And then we've added this provision. This is where most of the meat of what we're talking about is, which is in this 5.4. It's actually going to be 8 based on the numbering. Again, sorry, I had not double checked my formatting here. But what this is saying is for the year of 2021, this provision, which is subsection 7, will expire on December 1st. And the reason why is that we've identified there's an existing hazard in the city, focuses on these areas of the city that traverse the city or border the city, which are high risk as identified in the state code, specifically brush covered, forest covered areas, grass areas, waterways, trails, canyons, washes, ravines, and the wildland urban interface. And it also includes agricultural areas. As many of you know, we have several fields across the city. In fact, one of the city-owned properties is currently in a dry crop of wheat as part of the regular crop rotation. You know, that is, I'm sure we all know, wheat likes, or I don't want to say it likes to burn, but it can burn easily. What do you call it, Ryan? The fuel is dry. What did you say in your interview on the news?
The moisture content is low,
Yes.
very low.
This ordinance anticipates the same approach that the council took last time, which is that there is a citywide ban on fireworks, with the exception of it does identify some areas where fireworks would be allowed. And it does limit it to the hours of 8 to 11. And then it exempts the city fireworks. The question is, these 3 parks were entered as kind of placeholders without getting feedback from the council on locations that you feel would be safe. And obviously we have the chief of police here, the fire marshal is here on the council. But we also have this map that came from wildfire.org that looks at our city and focuses on what the wildfire risk is, kind of what this map was based on. It's not the structured risk map, but what it does is identify the areas in red. I'm going to share this one to the Zoom folks. I forgot to do this, but it identifies the areas in red are the highest risk areas for wildfire to be affected by fires. And then the orange areas are the next highest. And then we have a significant, well, not a significant, but there's some areas of gray, which essentially are no risk. Looking at trying to overlay just my own skill as I look at the satellite compared to that, a lot of these areas are the ones that are fully built out. They're not in proximity to lots of unlandscaped area, meaning that they're unirrigated areas. Although I can tell you that some of these areas I know are agricultural in nature, particularly where you see this polygon shape over here, that there are quite a few fields and things, but they are irrigated for alfalfa or other things. So the question before the council tonight is, are you okay with the language as proposed in this fireworks map ordinance? And then what map would you like to adopt for the city? We do have, sorry, the wrong button. We do have, I just can't find the right one. We do have this map, which identifies pretty clearly the city boundaries, where the other map that we have in place doesn't identify them quite as well, because that wasn't necessarily the purpose of the map. But in theory, it'd be good for the council to talk about what boundaries you'd like to see restrictions in. If it still is a city-wide restriction, then the areas that are outlined in this map in black would be restricted, with the exception of these county islands.
Because they're already restricted.
But right, so they are banned by the Weber County ordinance, not the city ordinance. So they would be subject to enforcement by the sheriff's office.
Those actually got banned by the state.
Oh, the state did?
Yeah, because they can do unincorporated lands.
Oh, okay. Learn something new every day. So anyways, they would not be subject to your jurisdiction, but they are already blocked. So what questions do you have for me, council? This ordinance, while you're discussing, Susan and I are just going to amend the title. As we've discussed it, we think that it's better to have this ordinance amend the ordinance that was passed last week, so that it's clear that that ordinance isn't in effect anymore, assuming that the council would like to pass this ordinance. So what questions do you have? Or turn it over.
Okay. Council, comments, questions? I think John asked which map we'd like to use. So Councilmember Ekstrom, looks like you have a comment.
I do. I want to make sure that we're really clear to the residents exactly what's banned and where they can do it if we're going to choose the areas that are allowed, when that is. And then my other question is just how are we going to get this information disseminated? I mean, are we just kind of relying on social media, the website? You know, I can just, my neighbors are just peppering me with questions, you know, so it's like, so does that mean sparklers? Does that mean aerials? Does that mean, you know, snakes? What exactly is it that, you know, are we banning absolutely everything that you light on fire? Everything that we're lighting on fire. So it's like, yeah, it's like, is this banned? Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. So that is most of my question.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Ekstrom. Councilmember Swanson.
not so much a question, but a comment. John, if you can scroll to those 3 parks that were chosen, or Susan, sorry, or whoever's running the mouse.
Okay,
Who's on the mouse?
It's a team effort.
Who's on the mouse? What's on the computer screen? Okay. I think if we're going to have a safe area, that we limit it to the aquatic center parking lot. I know that there are homes that surround every one of those parks whose vegetation is suffering as much as anywhere else in the city. And I don't think that those folks would like to lose their vegetation because the park next to them becomes a wild fireworks free-for-all. At least with the aquatic center parking lot, it's a paved surface, which greatly reduces the risk of there being a grass fire or anything like that. So that would be my recommendation.
I would concur, Councilman Swanson, that's why I kind of recommended that. It is paved and it's right next to the fire department, right? So it is quite a safe zone.
I would also recommend that we allow North Shore Aquatic Center parking lot to be used on the 2nd and the 4th. Because we know on the 3rd, the fire department will be focusing its safety concerns on the city. Spectacular that night with the aerials that we have, and I'd hate to stretch them any thinner than they're already going to be stretched. So the 2nd and the 4th would be between 8 and 11 would be the times I would recommend that we use that parking lot.
John, does our regular ordinance, does it allow 2nd through the 5th?
the state ordinance is 2nd through the 5th.
What about the 5th?
That's fine, 2nd, 4th, and 5th.
Okay. Other comments or questions, council? Councilman Barker?
I'm actually not opposed to leaving it on the 4th as well. Historically, we've noticed a lull in fireworks when the city shoots theirs. So, and then that still gives us time to get back and help if something happened.
And
After
the
4th or 3rd?
the 3rd, yes, the 3rd, not the 4th. Yeah, but
He's comfortable, I'm comfortable.
I'm okay. We're okay with it.
So if I understand correctly, you're all right with the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and
Yep.
5th?
I think it'd be easier for everyone if we just said during fireworks season or this year, go to this section, this parking lot.
I agree. I'd like to give the public any opportunities as they would like to take their kids and light off fireworks in a safe place. Any other comments? Questions?
You said the 3rd as well, right?
Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
So 2nd through 5th. Okay.
Yes. Councilman Barber.
One other thing we should think about, are we gonna discuss the next holiday that shoots fireworks?
The 24th.
Yeah, do you want that included in this ordinance?
I think this
So the
is in
same-
effect until December.
Well, because
1st.
right now we only have the dates first, July 2nd through 5th. Should we add July 22nd through 25th?
Safe. Yeah, good point.
Okay.
You said 22nd through 23rd.
Yep. Through 25th.
John, I'm thinking maybe you stick to the mouse and watch Susan type.
I'll clean it up later.
Too many things to do.
John, do you feel the ordinance is in condition that the council can vote at this point in time?
So the biggest thing will be, if in your, I just need to fix this title, or maybe Susan can do that real quick. To make it clear that we're amending that previous ordinance. And then I think we would need the council to identify, if it's citywide, we might just reference that map. And we will title it the existing hazards map and use the city boundaries as the, for the parameters. sorry, that didn't make much sense, but just make sure you're identifying it's a citywide, that the map will use as that one that shows the city boundaries and the wildfire risk, and we'll go from there.
So as we seek a motion,
What do you-
whoever makes that would include the map, reference to the map. John, one thing, even though there's some gray spots on that map that we're proposing to adopt, I think it's very difficult the way our city runs with creeks and some of the things that we have that refer to the law that run throughout the city. It's very difficult to identify those specifically. So I think the term citywide ban using that map is probably appropriate.
Okay.
Just the ravines and things that run through our city and creeks and other hazards, it's just really hard to have a definitive map, so.
Okay, I think that's good, and thank you for bringing that up, Mayor, that there are so many natural features in that across the city that it'd be hard to delineate a usable boundary that would give any sort of sense to anyone about where they could shoot off fireworks. So that's a good point, Mayor.
Let us know, John, when you feel the ordinance is ready to be voted upon. I think the council's ready.
Susan's just double checking my numbering.
So, and then these are good, all you're aware of.
Yep. So this in theory, council is re-adopting that entire section 5.4 and renumbering. So we find that sometimes when we do so much work in an ordinance, it's better just to re-adopt the whole section to make it easier on the code and the recorder's office. So, but I think we're there as far as renumbering and these provisions. It is set up for the Aquatic Center. July 2nd through 5th, 8 to 11, and the 22nd through 25th. Same time frame.
Susan, can you scroll back up?
Yes,
I
sorry.
think the numbering right there should be 548.
That's what I was just looking at. So these are-
No, oh. Right there, existing hazardous. There you go.
So
That's 547. Next one should be 548.
it's a little hard with the red, but
I can't tell from my angle. Is it 8?
so it does look like the 7 is crossed out and
Oh,
replaced
I
with an
can't
8.
see the strike through.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of,
This one, the 6s.
so the 6 is crossed out and it's a 7. Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
So if you wanted to, you could say and not renumbered as appropriately in the motion, and that would make it easier on the recorder's office.
Counselor, is there anyone who would like to scroll through the ordinance to make sure they understand it before we seek a motion? Is everyone okay with the wording in the ordinance and understand? Yeah. All right, that being the case, then I would seek a motion to amend ordinance 2021-19. And we just remind you to include in the motion the things John mentioned. Do you have a motion?
Mayor, I'll move that we amend ordinance 20. Can you scroll to the top so I can read that, please? Amend ordinance 2021-19, amending city ordinance 2021-19, which amended Title 5, Chapter 4 fireworks to establish boundaries for fireworks and prohibit open burning in certain areas of the city, referencing the wildfire.org map, the ban to include all areas within the city boundaries. Anything else I need to include?
Renumbered as appropriate.
And renumbered as appropriate. Thank you, John.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second by Council Member Severing. Is there any discussion, council? Further discussion? Seeing none, since this is a amendment of an ordinance, we'll take a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Stoker,
Yes.
Councilmember Ekstrom,
Yes.
Councilmember Severing,
Yes.
and Councilmember Swanson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll now go on to number 5 on our agenda, which are further public comments. who have comments at this point in time, please come to the podium. Please state your name and if you're a resident of North Ogden.
Steve Air, North Ogden, Utah. I just had a comment on the fireworks at the North Ogden Pool parking lot. If you plan on doing that, I hope it's organized. But I've been to one of those before where people got hurt and one of those type of things. Hopefully it'll be organized and this won't happen or nobody gets hurt. Fireworks falls down and shoots somebody and they're hurt or killed. Hopefully you can have that organized and nothing like that will happen. Hopefully the areas around that parking lot or homes are not destroyed. Farm fields around there. No grass fires happen. The city ordinances surrounding the where fireworks will be hopefully banned in our foothills. There's fire damage everywhere we look in the hills where I live. I live up by the divide. Hopefully nothing will happen up there. I mean, that's pretty bad up there. I've been up there. I've lived in that area for 40 years. I've seen mudslides. Far as this year as far as the weather has been, we've had our wind this year and this summer already. The wind has been bad. The weather's been hot. We cannot have fireworks at all, not at all. And hopefully we will not have them at all. And if we do, I think there should be a fine if it happens. And that's just what I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you. It is our intention to enforce this ordinance as we've talked to the chief and he's got his officers alerted and they'll do the best they can to enforce this ordinance. So any other comments, John, on Zoom?
No comments on Zoom at this time.
You have another comment from the public here?
Brenda Ashdown, I live in North Ogden. Seeing what's happened this year, hopefully we'll get some snow and we won't come across this again. But I would suggest that this be looked at a little bit sooner in the year rather than leaving it till 3 or 4 days before the holiday. I think that would be easier for people to accept one way or the other. And the other question I have, if you have an abandoned car on a street, how long can that car stay there before something is done with it?
We actually have the chief here that could probably answer that for you.
It depends, it has to meet the definition of abandoned, which is either not registered by state standards or inoperable. So if it's neither of those, then it can sit parked there as long as it's parked legally.
Okay, well, they've taken the license plates off of both front and back. It does have a red sticker on the windshield, but I'm not even sure really if it's a North Ogden street or if it's a private street. It's down where the 55 plus, the new 55 plus, just off of Pleasant View Drive, the road that goes from Pleasant View Drive down to 2600. There's a car that's been there for a few days that has no license plates on it. A string hanging out the trunk. So
I believe
just wondering.
that was our tag. That's our impound notice on that car.
Okay, thank you.
John, any other comments from the public this evening?
Nope, not on Zoom.
All right. Could I just ask like what the recourse would be for my plea? Like, should I come back to the next city council meeting or essentially like, when could I receive word of if there's any action that'll be taken?
And if you would get with us after and leave your phone number, we will follow up.
Okay.
In my previous conversations, that's the problem is the rock and where it can be relocated, but we'll take a look at it and see what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
But if you get with us after.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, one more question, Grant. You know, we're talking about water shortage here. And the governor's come out and he kind of said last night about how we're supposed to reserve on water, what we can do. Can I ask you something? What are the car washes? How are they conserving on water? How much water do they use? I mean, how much water are they using? I mean, if we're supposed to conserve on water, what are the car washes using? I mean, I can't even, if I can only use 2 days of water a week on my grass, and that's not very much. And I've seen churches where grass is burning up on the churches. And my neighbor down the street, his grass is as green as green. What is he doing right that I'm doing wrong? I mean, what's he doing? Is he doing, what's he doing right that I'm doing wrong? Is he watering every day? I mean, is it right for him to water every day and me water two times a week? Something's going wrong, something's wrong here.
I guess he could be using green paint, but I doubt it.
Right?
Well,
I mean, is that right?
a lot of people don't understand that the watering is secondary water coming from Pine View, and they enforce their water ordinances. We control the water in the city. We are looking at an ordinance. The current ordinance, I believe, John, prohibits watering of lawns with culinary water. We are looking at an amendment to that ordinance to allow shrubs and gardens to be watered. We'll be addressing that in the upcoming council meeting. But John, would you like to answer his question about commercial use of water? Someone told me that about 90% of the water is used by commercial and agricultural usage versus actual residential homes. But
So I believe there are different opportunities and restrictions that are available. I know some of the more modern car washes actually have recycling tanks where they reuse the water, they filter and reuse, because they also don't like to pay a lot of water bills, and they have stormwater requirements and other processing they have to do. So, but it's true that the governor's message was kind of focused on businesses and their involvement because of that concern you just raised, Mayor, that a significant portion of the water is used by those places. And I can check with our public works to see what we've done as we've reached out to our partners in the city about the reduction in the commercial use.
thank you, John. Do we have any other comments?
Thanks.
All right. Seeing none, then I would look for a motion from Council Member Stoker to adjourn this meeting.
We skipped 6.
Yeah.
Again,
But I'll adjourn it.
so let's see if there are any comments from council or staff.
Just one.
John, go ahead.
Just council, as we start progressing with our in-person meetings, I think we'd like to revisit Zoom as a tool for the back and forth communication. Last meeting, it was quite problematic. We still like it as a tool to help us get it onto YouTube and things, but just give some thought to that over the coming weeks and we'll bring it back up for some more discussion.
Councilmember Barker.
This is actually, I think, some pretty exciting news. Starting Thursday, there will now be paramedics inside of North Ogden. We've hired paramedics that they will start, which most people don't realize. Paramedics used to come from Ogden City and Weaver Fire, and we now have them in our own city. So Thursday they are here. So just one more feature that we're trying to help out with.
Thank you, Councilman Barker. Comments from council or staff?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion in a second, all in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.